All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. This is a interactive, so please feel free to put a question in chat. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. We just ask that you do it kind of at the right time, but I'll pause during the presentation for that. And then this is part of the presentation that will be delivered on the online content, which we will talk about in a minute. But the goal of this webinar is really just to gain some insights into the benefits of being an examiner, what it's going to be like on the examiner journey, the next steps, and then our current calendar of events. We've tried to take quite a bit of the feedback that we've gotten from some of you that are on the call today, some of what's happening with the national program, other programs that we've talked to, as well as some of our examiners that have gone through, our head examiners who's helping us now, and some of the career tech and higher ed resources that we've talked to. So the overall goal going forward, and for those of you that have been through examiner training, we're going to make a little bit of a change this year to much more of a hybrid approach. In the hybrid approach, we will have a learning management system. It will be Canvas. That will have the resources that you need in one place, as well as some videos about being an examiner going forward. So kind of the purpose of this webinar is to talk about the resources that you'll have, where we're going, and what we believe the journey will look like, and then end with a calendar of events that will be posted on the web if it's not already. I think the 2023 has been up there. 2024 will be updated, and then we will send this out to you. And then the goal will be about the 1st of June to open up the LMS for examiner training. So let's go ahead and get started. So like all good organizations that follow the performance excellence, our mission is to build better organizations across Oklahoma. Everything we do, we want to make sure that we are focusing on making the state of Oklahoma stronger by serving the people and communities here, and taking care of the people that live here, the people that work for us, with us, and the customers that we take care of. So OQF is really functioning under 4 pillars. We want to demonstrate excellence. And for those of you that have been a part of the journey over the last 4 or 5 years, you know that that's been changing for us. And we are focusing on excellence. And we are actually focusing on, as an organization, going through the Baldrige journey as well. We are going to do it and are working slowly with another state program. We felt it was more appropriate for us to go through another state than to do our own. But we want to be able to demonstrate that we can do the things that we are asking other organizations to do. We want to inspire excellence, and that is really inspiring role model leaders and role model organizations to share best practices. And as an examiner or somebody that's going through the master's class, that's what we are also asking you to do, is to inspire role model results, inspire people just to do the best that they can, deploy the systems, continuously learn, and the things that make performance excellence strong. We want to recognize excellence, which is the award and recognizing leaders. We say it over and over. It's not about the bright, shiny trophy. It is really about giving others access to role model leaders and best practices, and giving role model leaders the continuous opportunity to mentor others. And then we provide solutions for excellence, and the solutions we provide are best practices. They've been time tested through the framework. And those are aspects of strategic planning and those things. And anybody that's on the examiner team can be a part of anything that we do. Our vision is really to be the first call for performance excellence in Oklahoma. It doesn't mean that we want to provide everything, but we would like to have a strong enough body of resources and body of leaders that when somebody calls and needs something, we know how to guide them in the right direction. And then our values, they do come out of the framework, but the ones that we've picked are visionary leadership. And that is really leading for today, for tomorrow, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years, and then ultimately for generations to come, and the idea of leaving a legacy. We value people, both the customers that we take care of, the people that are developing and working in the organizations that we serve in or serve, and then also the communities that people live in. We always remind people it's systems thinking. We set up the systems, the working systems, as examiners, both in our organizations and in the organizations that we go into, we focus on the systems that are repeatable and work, and preferably systems that are as simple as they can be and help us really utilize the personalities of the people that work for our organization to make them strong. We manage by fact, which means we do take in data, we take in meaningful data, and we benchmark data. You'll hear it constantly. We're community focused. We want to take care of the communities that we serve, and then a continuous learning and always learning environment. So always looking for feedback. So Aristotle said, "What we are, what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." And you will see throughout this training that we are making a slight change to really help create the habits within what we would call a person that has a master's level understanding of the criteria, or an examiner. They're almost synonymous. Typically, somebody that's thinking of themselves as mastering the criteria is just on a learning journey that deploys that criteria within the organizations that they work in and serve. As an examiner, you're now going to deploy it in other organizations so that you can help grow them, give them feedback, but also learn from them. And the body of knowledge that we are using is found in books like Atomic Habits, Tiny Habits, and Mini Habits. They all use the same framework, a little different slant towards it, but the idea of creating habits that are somewhat simple, but reproducible, and create the daily habits for producing results day in and day out. So first and foremost, examiner training is a professional development curriculum. It was designed by the Department of Commerce originally to give people access to high-performing organizations and role model organizations and help them bring a framework to those organizations that is management by asking really good questions and then applying a specific methodology to give feedback that should be non-prescriptive. And it doesn't begin with what you've seen or what you do. It is really, does it meet the needs of the criteria? And so it's a comprehensive framework. It's what we deploy, it's what we teach on. It covers things like excellence, leadership, strategy, customers, workforce, how you operationalize, and then, of course, a heavy focus on results. But it is a systems approach, and it is a holistic approach to organizations and professional development. It's also an evidence-based approach. So we learn from, we make changes to it, and then it evolves over time. It is a continuous improvement mindset. So the idea is you're always looking for ways to get better. We really want to create a collaborative learning environment. We hear constantly that people want the opportunity to network. So there's things that are going on in the background. Amber is actually leading a cohort of leaders. Examiner training is all about getting around other people and other organizations to learn from one another. And then it is still the highest award given for performance excellence in the nation. And I was thankful to hear Lieutenant Governor say that he agreed it is also the highest award given at the state level for performance excellence in the state of Oklahoma. And so we're excited to see that group re-engage, and he's been really good to us. So we talked about habit formation. I won't spend a lot of time here. Just know that the goal is you want to trigger something, and that's going to be reading a question in the framework. There is a routine of how you look at that. The constant reward is professional development, organizational development, so that individual development, seeing organizations grow. Through the class, we're going to repeat something over and over. That is one of the things I think we learned last year, is we did not do enough repetition of question, adly, let's see, scoring, feedback. So we will do more of that this year. And then just that consistent approach. I just wanted to stop a minute. I've got some testimonial videos from others, but I know we have some examiners on the line. Is there anybody that would be willing just to talk a little bit about what it's meant to you, or some positive experiences you've had being an examiner in the past?
Heath, I'll jump in.
Thank you.
This is Jared Bates from Chickasaw Nation. And so my journey with the criteria, I think, started in 2013 whenever I worked for the State Department of Career Tech. And we had just brought on a new state director, Dr. Robert Summers, and we were looking at overhauling our accreditation process and trying to integrate Baldrige criteria into that and ended up doing that. So that was kind of my first baptism into the criteria and then kind of got started back. So I left the agency a few years ago and then moved into Chickasaw Nation and kind of got back with this. So for me, what it means to be an examiner is a couple of things. Um, it's really a hands-on experience to learn the criteria. What I will tell you is you don't know what you don't know. And so being able to actually go in and apply the criteria. So it's one thing to apply for the award and to go through that application process, but it's another thing and another lens to actually view the criteria from another perspective from another organization. And so from that, you gain an understanding of the criteria intensively. Um, and the second thing that you really gain from this is you get to see other processes in other organizations. And you can then, pull those best practices or those learnings that you've picked up from that process and that review, and maybe even reimagine your own processes. And what I mean by that is you may go through that application review and that site visit, and that may trigger a thought and an idea of where like, hey, we can go do this particular process differently or something like that. And so I'll tell you one that I picked up on our last review that triggered an innovative idea, and that was developing like how do we disseminate and help people learn their criteria and share best practices within our organization. And so I went back and kind of created something called the Quality Institute, and we haven't even done a proposal or even looked at that. But what was kind of born out of that was like, getting people into an online repository to be able to share best practices, resources, learn the criteria, that kind of thing. Because we're a very large organization. And so, a part of that, we're actually applying through the examiner training through the learning management system and putting the criteria in there and sharing videos and that kind of thing. And so there's definitely a lot of benefit as far as, getting some ideas from that process. So for your organization.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Anybody else?
Hi, Jared. This is Carrie Harjo. I'm happy to speak on my experience. I
Yay,
was
Carrie.
Hey, I was new to Oklahoma Quality Foundation when I came to Oklahoma City Indian Clinic, and going through the examiner training really helped me jump into the criteria, not really knowing what I was getting into and feeling a little like things were up in the air, but actually going to the site visit, doing the independent review, visiting with the company, it really brought things together for me. So any confusion I had, and you know me, Jared, I'm an overthinker. So any confusion I had in the training process, just it really clicked when I was on site, and it really helped me get perspective and really see the depth of value that Oklahoma Quality offers, and also all the other stuff he said too.
Appreciate that, Carrie. And I'm not sure, is there anybody that's been a national examiner on? I don't think I see anybody.
Was Hazel on?
No.
I have, but I've already spoken.
All right. Well, I will give mine. So mine has been a fairly long journey. I was trying to remember the first time I came into contact with the framework, and I am pretty sure it's right around 2000, 2002. I was with a large regional healthcare system that was on the journey, 3 national site visits, did not win national, won the state award multiple times, but our CEO would not break the organization into single regions like other hospitals have done to win. He really felt it was more about the journey, which I absolutely appreciate, and worked through it that way. I began as a frontline supervisor, was identified as somebody that could help deploy it. And then within about 4 years was a senior leader in the organization because I learned to think in systems, taking care of the customer, really putting together solid processes that help take care of the workforce, measuring what mattered, and we began to get results. And so I continued on as an examiner in multiple state programs. And one of the things that it did for me is it gave me a breadth of experience and the ability to see really what worked in organizations and to trust that organizations that truly lived and deployed their mission had a vision beyond themselves and lived by a value set while deploying the systems that the framework asks questions about works. It just works. And the thing I would say, and I think John Manfredo, our board member, said it well at the conference, was people just come back different. They ask the right questions. They know the questions to ask. They see their organizations differently, and it helps you understand how an organization is formed. So that's what it's meant for me, and I've appreciated it. And then of course I've been examiner, team lead, judge, worked in several programs, been on board members for several programs, and now have the opportunity to be a part of this program. So I'm a believer in it. I know there's a lot of believers in it. There's a lot to it. So let's jump in. So I kind of put this slide in why excellence, but don't call it Baldrige. It's really not about learning a Baldrige language. It is about growing organizationals that are excellent. You'll hear it over and over, focusing on customers, pure alignment, or I would say true alignment and integration with everything you do. It's understanding the links between your systems and having a holistic approach that moves what matters in your organization forward. Benchmarking and best practices was a big one for me. And sometimes this is an aha moment for people. We kind of live during a time that a lot of people, organizations, individuals will run around or will say they're the best. They're the best at what they do, but they're not measuring it against others. And oftentimes when they begin, they may find out that some of their systems and measurements are just average. Some may be below average, some are slightly above, but often they're not the best. And when you get really focused on benchmarking, it allows you to know where you're at. It gives you a comparison to know the direction you're going. And that is just a part of being excellent. If you use the term excellent or world class, it's a different word than average. It's about engaging your workforce. I get to talk to a lot of organizations, and one of the things I will share with them is if you're going to start the journey and begin to train people and talk about it and put your mission, vision, values on the wall, as a senior leader team and a leadership team, you need to live it, or you can actually hurt your organization because you begin to train people on what excellence is. And then if you don't empower them, it may frustrate them. But if you train them, engage them, and empower them, what you'll see in all of the level 5 winners is high employee satisfaction, high trusted management, ethical practices. It's just a tenet of all the level 5 organizations. And then they do measure what matters, and many of them quit measuring what doesn't matter. They get a lot of time back by looking at the things that are important to the organization, and they learn to manage through the noise of business. So key points in this, just as you go through examiner training, the goal will be to understand the Baldrige framework, how you deploy those effective leadership principles around mission, vision, values, and strategy, that continuous improvement environment, and then measure what matters. I mean, you'll hear that over and over. And so the journey. So for those of you that haven't done it, here's the journey. You learn the curriculum. You go through ADLI, Let's See. You'll learn the crosswalk between processes and results, how to score, how you apply it to your organization, assess another organization, and then ultimately the goal is to be on a site visit and experience it. ADLI will go through in the training, but it is very specifically looking for the approaches that an organization takes to taking care of their customers and their people and their communities. Can be governance, strategic planning, how they do cybersecurity. It's an approach. Deployment, how well is it deployed through the organization? How many people, how many other systems utilize that to move it forward? So that idea of if you have a system, you deploy it well. And that can even be as simple as your mission is a work system. Do you deploy your mission through the organization well in a way that resonates with the people that are carrying out the job day in and day out? Are you learning from it? And is it an integrated approach? And that's how you look at your process categories. And we will go through that at length in training, but that's a key habit that we will work through. Let's see is how you look at your measurements. Where are your levels, which just means are they favorable or unfavorable? If you want 90% employee retention, what's your level? Is it 70 or is it 95? Is it trending in the right direction so that people catch the trends and make changes? Protect what's working, make changes to move measurements in the right directions for things that are trending in an unfavorable direction. Comparisons. Are you comparing with like business units? Are you comparing with other people in your industry? Are you comparing with other industries so that you truly know if you have a best practice or if you need to grow in that area and have an opportunity for improvement? And then integration, is it a measurement that matters to you? Are you measuring what matters in the organization, or is it a meaningful metric that is just taking time that could be redeployed? The crosswalk is the understanding of what measurements are giving you information on what system. Much like the gauge on an airplane, the altimeter tells you if you're going up and down, airspeed tells you how fast you're going, is the plane level. Each of your measurements have a crosswalk to the systems in the framework, so you should know general alignment between your results and the systems. Scoring is how we score an organization from a maturing or immature organization that is primarily reactive to an organization that has mature, repeatable processes. Then for examiner training, we want the person to begin to apply it in their organization. And that can look, that's a little bit different for everybody, but an organization that's on the journey, typically that person is helping move their journey forward. Hopefully they're a part of the application writing, and it doesn't mean they're writing the application, but they know how to look for the systems in the organization. They know how to talk about deployment. They know how to explain it to the rest of the organization. And they tend to think, okay, what does this mean for our customer and what's good for our customer? How does it affect our workforce? What does this do for the resources that we have to steward? Is that a well-deployed system? Are we learning from it? They just tend to learn to think that way. Then we want them to assess another organization. And not everybody that goes through master's level training will do a site visit, but those that do, you're going to apply it to another organization. And I think the power of that is it really forces you to break outside of your own perceptions, and you get to see processes that work for other organizations. And sometimes that presents itself like this. Often I will see this. You'll start an application and somebody will say, well, that can't work. That's not a process that's going to work. We don't do it that way. And then you look at their results and you find out not only are their levels in the top 10th percentile, so the best in class, they're compared against others, and often they're better than the organization. And it creates an environment where somebody says, wait a minute, let me rethink this. Maybe the way I'm doing it is not the best way, and there is a better way. Or maybe it reinforces that we do have the best approach. It's just not deployed. So you get to see that within an organization, and then you also get to give that organization feedback, which helps them get stronger. And you do that with a team. Then you go on to site visit. And of course, that's where I would say everything goes from black and white to color, and you get to see another organization. And what that means, you get access to their executive team and how they do processes. You get to talk to their next level of organizational leadership. You get to talk to their directors, their managers, their frontline, and they talk to you about how they do it. So just a really wonderful experience. It is hard work, but it's a wonderful experience. The journey of an examiner and the opportunities that are afforded afterwards, at least with an OQF. I think you heard that I went from a frontline supervisor to a senior leader by learning to think this way, and that's not an uncommon story for an examiner. But the kind of the path of an examiner is typically you have some kind of a passion for quality, excellence within an organization. You want to see them get better. You want the customer to have an amazing experience. You want to build strong teams on your workforce. There's a passion for doing that. So you become an examiner, you understand the criteria, then a team lead, or typically a couple of years, and then you can lead a team, which is rewarding. You might be an application writer. You can take what you've learned and be an application writer. there's opportunities to be board members, and that's board members on Baldrige organizations. It's a board member for our organization, but you think systems, which can prepare you to really think like a board member within an organization, because you think leadership, strategy, governance, workforce. You can think in a very broad manner. A judge, if you've been an examiner for a while, a team lead, you've been on a few site visits, you've been a Baldrige award-winning organization, then a judge gets to be one that says, yes, when we look at what the examiner team put together, we look at the criteria, we look at the scoring, I got to go on site and see it. This is an organization that is at that level. We have feedback writers on the team. If you're somebody that loves to write and you believe you can give back by writing feedback or giving verbal information back, there's the feedback writer area. And then the process coach is typically somebody that really loves the process and constantly holds the examiner team to the process. Are you answering the question? Okay, where's Adley on that? All right, let's talk about let's see. What question are they answering? Is it integrated? That's the role of the process coach. So I want to stop there and see if there's any questions. All right. So this is the last slide that I have. And for those of you that have put in to be an examiner, this is the calendar of events coming up. So as we're in May, we are not going to do the application writing workshop, but for those of you that will be in the examiners class in person on the 17th and the 18th, or the 24th and the 25th, the LMS will open up on the 3rd. When it opens up on the 3rd, you will have access to the learning modules. And I think there'll be around 4 hours of work. It could go up to 8 if you really want to spend a lot of time in it. But it will basically be understanding the framework, Adley, Let's See, scoring, and then next steps. And what we would really like is when you come into the examiner's training, which will be a lot of group interaction, is you will have the foundation of Adley, Let's See, and scoring. We didn't do scoring last year, but I think what we've learned is for scoring, you really need to understand the score so you know how to look through the application for whether they're maturing or an organization that doesn't have mature processes. And then if you're doing the examiners training in July, you'll want to have the LMS done or it really opened up. You'll have an opening again on the 3rd, but you'll really want that completed before you go into the class. And that is really the first phase. That's about, if you look on the slide here, LMS 4 to 8 hours. We'll have class 2 days. You just need to pick either the 17th and the 18th, the 24th or the 25th, or the one in July. If you are with an organization that we are doing it in your organization, those dates are separate than these. And if that organization is open to it, we may open those up to others, but your dates might just be a little bit different. All of this needs to be complete by the 1st of August because our applications for the site visits and the applicants that are going through will be in, and examiners independent review will start in August. And you need to plan about 10 hours. And I always suggest you segment it 30 minutes to an hour a day for a few days. You can have some breaks in it. I would not try to do a block of 5 to 10 hours, even though I have done that in the past. It's rough. You really want to kind of spread that out and you learn the systems of the organization that you'll be examining. Then we'll enter into consensus review, which is where you come together as a team and you'll bring your independent review. You'll learn from the team. You'll get the collective experience and view of the team. And then that we hope will be completed. Now, if it's a later site visit, the team lead may take you a little bit farther, or it may take you a little bit longer. But then site visits will be scheduled on these weeks. And that will be something that the team lead works with the organization and the team to make sure that the site visit works for everybody. But we want all of those done by October. Then our judges will meet the 11th through the 14th of November. They'll make their decisions by the 15th. Our goal will be to announce awards the week of November 25th and then going into December. And then our goal will be to get all the feedback reports back that second week in December, which means the feedback writers will need all the information in. And then we'll talk a little bit about a winners roundtable at that time. But that's the goal of examiners training. We've tried to present the information in a way that we can give you one document so that you have all the dates. If Jason Morton is still on, you can thank him for that. He is by far the most detailed person that asks me questions. And so Jason, I tell you often, I appreciate it. Know that that is genuine. I appreciate you for pushing us on this. Any questions?
Hey, it's Jason. Just to clarify, you said June 3rd that the Canvas stuff will open up with the LMS
Yes.
training, and so I would assume we'll receive some information around the Canvas stuff.
Yeah, so Jared kind of has the process on that. We just need their email and then we'll send something out. Is that correct?
Yes. Email and a name, first and last.
Gotcha. So is that something that we need to send you directly, or do you already have that from the application stuff that we
Nope.
sent?
We have it from the application. What we will need from everybody though is the dates you plan on attending in person.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Jason, here's my check. Did I answer most of the questions you would typically have or
This calendar is amazing, Heath. I love it. This is super helpful. I appreciate it.
Thank you. More questions?
Heath,
Hello.
sorry if I missed it. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question about the in-person training. Does it usually take up the full day, or how is it scheduled typically?
Yeah, great question. So it is typically 8 hours with a lunch break in between. So we usually do an 8 to 4, and depending on, I mean, just pure transparency, depending on the prep work that was done beforehand, if people come to class working through the LMS, there's a chance we can get out early, but plan on 8 hours each day.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Did you have a?
And where are these located at in person, the trainings?
So our goal right now, typically more Norman Technology Center is where we do it in Oklahoma City. We are thinking about trying to have one in Tulsa, but we have not announced that. So we will get that out, but unless it changes, it's typically more Norman Technology Center.
Okay, thank you.
And if anybody has a venue that they want to hold it in Tulsa, we'd be happy to do that. We have one offer already. Other people have offered for us to do it at their organization, but if anybody knows some place in Tulsa, happy to think about that. Any other questions? All right, if there's none, I will ask the question of the group. Just a little bit of feedback. Does this format work? Just brief informational things, then we can record it and send it out. Did this work for people today?
I really appreciated the structure of this webinar and just to dig into a bit more details. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll back Reagan up on that. It's really well laid out. It's understandable. It's very digestible. Well done.
Thank you very much. And if you have feedback, you're welcome to give feedback. I don't just need positive. I always enjoy being able to improve as well.
I appreciated the very specific information presented about the process and just who you are, a little bit of information about what you do. That was very, very well planned out and very specific, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. I think everybody has phone number and contact information. It's on the web. The number that's on the web is my cell phone. I try to answer calls directly. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. The goal is to have our examiner webpage updated with this information on it and a few testimonials this week. And so you should have information you need there. And then Jared, we'll get the LMS opened up, and appreciate everybody. Thank you for making Oklahoma stronger. Everybody have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heath.
Thank you. Thank you, Heath. You did the same.